Hi friends! Behind me is Goliath's picnic basket. Not really, but it is the biggest basket in the world. That's right, not just in Ohio, not just in the United States, but in the world. This basket was built in 1997 and it served as the headquarters of the Longaberger Basket Company. It is a replica of the company's best-selling medium market basket at 160 times the size of the original. It is 7 stories tall, not including the handles, and the handles on top are made of steel and each one of them weighs 75 tons. They are heated so that ice won't fall off of them and break the glass ceiling of the atrium below. The total construction cost of this giant basket was $30 million. As you know, the Longaberger basket craze eventually peaked and declined, and a little less than a decade after the building's completion, it was vacated and put on the market. It was sold in 2017, and no one knows yet what the next phase of its usefulness might be. This building is one of the most famous examples of mimetic architecture, also known as novelty or programmatic architecture. This is a style of building design that mimics or represents objects or products that are associated with the building or the building's function or purpose. It can also refer to the replication of famous landmarks, like many of the casinos in Las Vegas. Mimetic architecture was especially popular in the United States in the 1920s through the 50s. As cars became more and more common and freeways were built across the country, architecture became a means for advertising to passing vehicles. For example, a coffee shop might be designed in the shape of a coffee pot, or a restaurant in the shape of a giant hot dog, or an office building in the shape of a giant basket. Mimetic architecture became less popular after the 1950s. And although many buildings were either demolished or repurposed, some have been preserved as local landmarks, like the basket behind me. The idea of mimetic architecture put me onto 2 parallel lines of thinking. One is, what would our church building look like if we were to redesign it to represent its function and purpose? Now, I know that historically churches have been designed in the shape of a cross, but you can't usually see that unless you're up above or inside. And I also know that we have steeples and stained glass windows and other symbols that represent our faith to the world. But think like a Longaberger. Maybe we would build our building in the shape of a chalice or a loaf of bread. Maybe a giant Bible, maybe a music note or a helping hand. What about a casserole dish or a coffee cup? Now, of course, the church is not a building. And so the second line of thinking is that we are like mimetic architecture designed to represent Christ. When people experience us, when they hear our words and observe our attitudes and see our actions, do they do a double take and think, hey, check that out, they look just like Jesus? The next logical question, of course, is what does Jesus look like? How do we know if we're representing him or not? A good place to start is the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the characteristics that I try to keep in my thoughts and resulting behaviors. Now, heaven knows I don't always get it right, but thankfully we have an attentive, loving, gracious architect who is all about repair, remodel, and repurpose. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again soon.